I wish I could say I was like a brave soul and right away I like changed my entire life and found 17. I feel like the opposite. I feel like it's been like 2 years of wrestling with feeling like it's been 9 years of wrestling with no identity, but the past 2 years have been the struggle of I should be out of the woods by now.
Hey there, besties. Welcome to our cozy corner of the podcasting world. Thank you for pressing play and spending some time with me here on Share a Latte. I'm Min Sukri, your virtual coffee bestie, podcast orchestrator, master storyteller, and your caffeinated host. Picture us in a cozy cafe with the rich scent of freshly brewed coffee as we embark on a journey filled with inspiration. In each episode, remarkable women share their tales of overcoming life's hurdles, offering a comforting embrace for your spirit. These narratives serve as a reminder that resilience and unwavering determination pave the way to success. Join me each week for conversations that will stir your mind, warm your heart, and you'll unearthly own your own ability to transform challenges into remarkable strengths. The Share a Latte podcast sprinkles hope, courage, and the belief that you can not only handle life, but thrive throughout your day. All right, besties, let's embrace those tales of triumphs and get ready for another episode of Share a Latte. Hey there, latte and podcast lovers. Thanks for pressing play and joining me here on Share a Latte. I'm your host, Min Sukri, and today I'm joined with the incredible and vibrant Jenn Green. Picture Amy Poehler with 8 tattoos, infused with a passion of empowering women financially. As a mother and an email marketing strategist and the genius behind Grow, Nurture, Sell, Jenn shares her journey of finding balance amidst motherhood, entrepreneurship, and self-discovery. In this episode, Jenn brews up a robust blend of candid discussions on motherhood's challenges, the pursuit of passions not driven by monetization, and navigating the evolving dynamics of family life. It's an episode that will leave you inspired and craving another cup and ready to savor the unique flavors that life has to offer. Welcome back, friends. I'm so excited to be joined today by Jenn Green. Jenn and I met during a CEO retreat, but one of the beautiful things about Jenn was she was going through a really tough time, and I knew that this part of her life was going to resonate a lot with a lot of people and a lot of particularly moms. But let's kick things off with Jenn. Let's share your story a little bit, and how did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, the short version of this story is that I had a kid and I knew I couldn't go back to what I was doing before, so I started a business. It was a postpartum fitness business, and I ran that for 8 years. And then COVID hit and everything shut down where I was. I knew there was a time limit on doing postpartum fitness as my kid got older. Mm-hmm. So I went back to school for digital media marketing and really honed in on being like a conversion copywriter or marketing copywriter for emails specifically, because I had always been a writer and loved it. And I just needed to learn how to monetize it better. And so that's what I've been doing for almost 3 years now. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's my like short version of the story.
How old is the little man now?
He's 9.5 now.
Ooh, 9.5.
I know. I don't know how I got old enough to have a 9.5-year-old. I still feel like a baby.
Preaching to the choir. Preaching to the choir.
You're like, yes. When someone handed me this child one day and now it's like a full-fledged thing and I don't know, I'm not responsible enough to have this.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So when do you remember the moment when it felt like you were trying to do it all, like trying to be a mom, trying to be an entrepreneur, trying to keep this little human alive?
Oh, yeah, it's always felt that way. I think that the overwhelm set in really fast with motherhood. I think it does with most people, but with my postpartum fitness business, I really could lug him along. And a lot of my content was about him and about motherhood. So that business truthfully felt much easier because I could make really easy connections with all of my clients because I had been where they were or I was going through what they were going through. Mm-hmm. So it was like really seamless. And I feel like the struggle really started when I started my new business and the financial dynamic in my household started to change, where I also started to make more money than my husband. And we started to have to make big decisions because I had always been the default parent. He was the one who had the stable job and the benefits, and I was the one who had a business that, like most businesses, fluctuated up and down. I had been very lucky, but still fluctuations happened. And if the kid got sick or needed to be picked up from school or needed summer camp registration, I was always the person to do that just by default. So one day I had to really sit my husband down and go, let's look at the math, baby. Like, I'm making more money than I ever had, and I'm outpacing you. And the only reason I'm not way outpacing you is because I am still the default parent. Since mat leave, I have been the default parent. And something's got to shift if we want our family to grow in this way.
Oh. Yeah. So before we dive a little more into that, what did your life look like before motherhood? Do you remember what that was like?
Yeah, I just don't want my parents to listen to this podcast.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. No. Spill it.
Pretty free. I was an adrenaline junkie. I traveled all over. I climbed Kilimanjaro. I bungee jumped. I did a whole bunch of really crazy stuff. So before motherhood, I was an actress. I was a professional actress from the time I was 15. I moved to Toronto to be an actress. I'm born and raised in like a small town in New Brunswick. So moved away and I acted. I toured everywhere. And anytime I wasn't acting, I was trying to travel and get my adrenaline rush from different places. It was pretty freewheeling life. And that shifted mighty quick the moment I peed on the stick.
I love it.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, no, you're totally allowed to say that. Good. Amazing. Okay, so obviously you can't go jumping out of planes and...
No, everything... I know. I don't know about you, but what really shifted for me is that I felt really educated about postpartum depression. Everyone had warned me about postpartum depression. This is going to happen. This could happen. Keep an eye out for this. Keep an eye out for this. What no one warned me about, Min, was postpartum anxiety.
Ooh, I had that for a second.
Right?
Yeah.
I had no idea that's what I was experiencing. And I was almost like gaslighting myself and being like, you're not depressed. You're just worried. And you're supposed to worry. You're a mom now. You're supposed to, this is your job. But I literally remember this really transformative but low moment when I was pregnant. I remember reading a really horrible news story about an 18-year-old kid who had been murdered. And I don't know why I was reading that when I was pregnant. Someone should have stopped me.
Yes. Yes.
But I remember looking at my husband crying and being like, it's never going to end. Like, I think there was a part of me that realized that thought that once he came out and he was healthy and happy and I had gotten them through the toddler years, they go off in themselves. I was so naive. And I think that news story hit me the most because I was like, instead of identifying with the 18-year-old, I identified with the mom for the first time and was like, I'm never going to cry now. I'm never going to be the same. That was the moment where I was like intrinsically changed and realized my life was just never going to be the same. I was always going to worry. And then from that moment, I just felt like my whole life encompassed worry and anxiety. And I had no idea that what I was experiencing was extreme and that I needed help and support because I thought that was just what you did as a mom.
Yeah.
You feel
it becomes part of your identity. I totally know what you're talking about. It becomes part of your identity. That never, for my audience, I don't know if I've ever told you guys, but like my kids are 19 and 20 and I still, to this day, there's still times that I will wake up in the middle of the night because my son works night shift. I'm like, did you make it home safe? And he'll laugh at me. He'll literally send an LOL back and be like, yes, I made it home safe. Why are you asking?
I'm fine.
Yeah. I'm an adult. I can get home safe. And I'm like, but did you? Are you in bed? Can you send me a picture to make sure your feet are on the ground? Those little, that never goes away. It becomes part of your identity as a mom.
Yeah. I'm really close to my dad. And I remember asking my dad, do you still worry about me this year? And he was like, I will never stop worrying about you. Ever. The
worries change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My worry's grown now because now I worry about you. I worry about your kid. I worry about your husband. He really likes my husband. I worry about you as a family now, not just as my daughter. And so I was like, oh, great.
Yeah. So how did you navigate through the postpartum anxiety. I love that we're calling it postpartum anxiety. It's mom anxiety. It's
It's
parenting
just mom
anxiety.
anxiety.
It's just
I
anxiety.
know.
Yeah.
It is anxiety, but I really should have sought out support. I just didn't know that what I was experiencing was to the level that it was
Mm-hmm.
because I had been educated so heavily about postpartum depression and what to look out for, and I was not educated about postpartum anxiety and what to look out for.
Yeah.
And so it took me a lot of years even to be like, oh, that's what I'm experiencing. And it's not, it's normal, but it's not. You do still need help. And really, I think a lot of moms know this. It's in finding community. It's in
Yeah.
finding other women to talk to and normalize with.
Yeah.
And I had to really check in with my husband quite a bit and be like, is this normal parent anxiety or is this next level anxiety? And we have a very open relationship in that I felt comfortable asking him that and he felt comfortable telling me the truth where I think you need to take some deep breaths here.
Oh, that's so amazing. It's so great that
Yeah.
he's super supportive.
Very lucky to have the partner that I have to help guide me through those difficult moments where I have to say, is this normal or is this extra?
Right. What does life look like now for you?
We keep saying Nine is really fun. He's such a human now. He loves spending time with us, but he's also pretty independent. Like he can get up and feed himself breakfast. So we don't have to worry about that on a Saturday morning. And he'll just go downstairs and grab some food and turn on the TV or whatever. He's self-sufficient in that way, but he still needs us and wants us around. Like we just got a notice for his choir and he was like, hey mom, can you volunteer? And I'm like, yes, I can.
Aww.
So it just feels like this like level of freedom that feels comfortable. It's not all encompassing, but he still needs me and that feels good too.
Yeah, absolutely. He's growing into this little human.
Yeah.
He's 9, so you're about a good 10, maybe even 12 years away from him.
Independent.
Yeah, he's growing and really this is kudos to you. I know this is hard. I remember those times. I know this is hard for you because you're like, what happened to the little boy that I had to tie up shoes or pace around and put on pants? I laugh at my sister now because she's got a little one and she's, please tell me he grows out of this. And at one day I won't have to beg him to put on his pants. I'm like, yeah, but then you're going to miss those days. And she's like, no, I don't think I will. I was like, no, you look back at it. And they happen a lot faster than you think.
And that problem shifts, right? It's not like the problems go away. They just change.
Yeah. Yeah. Very different. Very different. So what does it look like in regards to like where you're at mentally and trying to figure out like navigating motherhood and your business? Because it's still growing and you're still growing.
Something we discussed that I think initiated this whole idea of coming on this podcast is that when you're a mom, you lose your identity really quickly.
Yeah.
It really is everything. It becomes everything. And my friends who didn't have kids slowly fell by the wayside because it was harder and harder to connect and harder to meet up at the times that they wanted to meet up. And so you also lose this like faction of friends that you've had forever. You grow closer to friends who have kids around the same age as you. You meet new people. But even then, your entire identity is around like talking about your kids and what your stage your kid is at, what your kid's eating, how much your kid is sleeping. And you're like, it's your whole world. And so it's really similar to entrepreneurship because when you start a business, all you talk about is your business. And all you think about is your business. And your whole identity is your business. And so
it's literally like being in a new relationship. You're begging for somebody to bring up the name so that you can discuss it longer.
You can talk about it. I know. And then you like make circle of friends that all own their own businesses because people who have a 9-to-5 job don't understand you anymore. And those friends fall by the wayside, right?
Yep.
Like, it's so similar. And I think the failing that I'm trying to work through right now is that I've treated my business much like motherhood. It has become so much of my identity and who I am and all that I do and all that I talk about and all that I think about. And I've surrounded myself with incredible women who run their own businesses, but I don't have a lot of friends who don't do that and can, so that I can escape this identity of either mother or business owner.
Right.
And that's hard mentally to think about. It really started as a discussion. I don't know if you've ever read the book Fair Play. Okay, so you should. Every woman should read this book. Every family should read this book.
Fair Play.
Okay. Fair Play by Eve Rodsky, Rodsky. And Fair Play is literally about division of labor in your household. And yes, and the invisible load that women often carry in the household, the invisible mental load that women often carry in the household. Well, if I say to my husband, hey, can you book summer camps this year? He's, yeah, absolutely. Can you just remind me of the names of the camps he went to last year and what their email addresses are and what weeks we should go and when are we going? I'm like, you're not doing the task then. I'm doing the task. Like,
why did I bother giving it to you? Yeah.
And then he's, oh, I'll book it. You just need to tell me what to do. And so this role of manager that women take on in the household that they don't volunteer for or ask for. And so she breaks it down so beautifully. And this is a book that your partners or your husbands or same-sex marriages need to read as well if you feel like the division of labor is off in your household, because she also really kindly addresses the person who is not taking on that responsibility as well. She teaches you how to divide tasks. It's really life-changing. And it really helped my husband and I. But one of the tenets of this book is that each partner gets what she calls unicorn space. Ooh. And then she wrote a whole book called Unicorn Space about this. But your unicorn space is basically like the time you spend away from your family, from your partner, from your children. That is like solely yours and solely like creative joy. And it was such a beautiful sentiment. And then I cried because I was like, I don't even know what that would mean to me. I don't know what that looks like. I don't even know what I like anymore. I don't know where I would even start. Where am I going to find the time? I started an anxiety spiral basically. And then I felt really, I'm not allowed to swear. Am I allowed to swear?
You can swear.
I just got really fucking sad.
Yeah. Girl, I'm feeling it.
Yeah. I was like, I am a 41-year-old woman now who genuinely has no passion outside of her family and her business. I've replaced every hobby and every passion with my business. And I used to think that was awesome. And now I don't think that's awesome anymore. I think it's a little bit sad. There's nothing I do for fun. And so it really was Fair Play that initiated this conversation of, holy crap, my whole life revolves around these incredibly wonderful things that I love so, so deeply. I don't want to take anything away from my family. I am obsessed with them. These two boys are just, my son and my husband are like, they are my world in a positive way too. And then my business is something I'm deeply proud of. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I don't have anything outside of that is solely mine. So that's where this anxiety started of like, holy crap, I just don't have anything that's mine. So and when your world revolves around the two main pillars of your identity, it's hard to find ways to inject all of that back, right? Because how are you supposed to know what's going to bring you joy anymore? So what have you been doing in regards to this process of self-discovery and reclaiming the old identity? Are you going back and climbing Kilimanjaro or jumping out of planes? No, I'm not jumping out of planes anymore. That time is over, unfortunately. When your life is your own, maybe you value it a tiny bit less. My life doesn't necessarily belong to me anymore. It belongs to these other two incredible humans as well. And I have a lot more value for my body and my life in a way that I didn't in my 20s. And I'm okay with that. This is something I talked to my moms about in my postpartum business, was like mourning the life you used to have, that it's okay to not do the things you used to do, but you need to almost have a funeral for those things.
Yep.
and let them go, and not just don't ghost your old self, like really mourn them and allow them to be like that. There was a time and a place for that.
Yeah.
And so that's my adrenaline junkiness, is there was a time and a place for that.
Right.
Travel was the first thing I brought back. I loved traveling before my son, and it probably took me 4 years,
Okay.
maybe 3, before I went back to that. And so I started traveling with some girlfriends every single year. Yeah, just to get a piece of that back. But it's not like a hobby. So I've started to be like, okay, I'm going to try some things and see what I think. I am like high achieving, gifted kid perfectionist to a T. And so it's really hard for me to be shitty at things. Really hard.
Again, preaching to the choir. I totally get it.
I have to embrace being bad at things. Otherwise, I'm never going to find a hobby.
Yes.
So there's some things I'm like looking at taking classes in just to see if I'm interested. And I'm going to allow myself to be a bad student for a while as best I can.
Ooh, I love this. What are you going to be trying?
So I registered for a carpentry course.
Ooh, that's so good. I love this idea for you.
I'm really excited about building things with my hands. There's like a final project that I can look at and be like, see this thing that I did. I made this thing. So that's really big for me. And we moved 4 years ago, and we haven't done anything with our house because I keep saying we're still in like renters mentality, where we're like, oh no, we can't put anything on the wall. I'm like, this is our home. We pay the bank every month to have this home. So let's do something with it.
Yeah.
So I think it would be fun also to do projects on this house that I'm really proud of that we bought.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And then I started to write a list of all the things that I used to do that I do feel like I could reclaim, like travel. Skating is a big one. We put our son in skating lessons when he was like, I don't know, 4 or 5. And he hated every second of it. He never even got up on his skates after 6 lessons. He couldn't stand up. He didn't make it past the first lesson of just like getting up. And so I haven't skated since because I was like, that's something he doesn't do.
Right.
So that was one of those things where I was like, yeah, but I could still go. I could still do that thing. I don't have to do everything that my son does.
Yeah.
And then you try and find passion out of, I don't know if you're the same way, but like when your kids become interested in something.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
You start to research it and be like, could we do that together? How do I encourage them in this?
Exactly. Yep. Totally with you.
I think that's, even though it's still a little bit to do with him, it can help me start to be passionate about new fun things that I would have never thought of before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ooh. This is exciting. So have you tried, you haven't tried the course yet, the carpentry course?
No, I just registered for after, because we just got back from our trips. Yeah. So I'm starting.
Have you tried anything new that you have started falling in love with?
I've always loved painting, but I am no good at all. So it's hard, but it's really like meditative. So I started watercolor, like just looking at YouTube videos of watercolor painting.
I get so jealous of the people who are on YouTube videos, like doing oil and water paintings. I'm like, what are you doing with your brush that I'm not doing properly?
That I'm not doing. That mine does not look anything like yours. Why?
Yeah, what? I don't understand. And then they're like, but if you add shadow here in the depth, and I was like, and then the hardest part when they do is when they're like, the sun would like shoot out here, so this is where the shadow would be. I was like, where are you getting this imagination? I need to know.
I know, I'm with you. So this is like part of being bad at something, right?
Yeah.
Which is really hard.
We're going to be looking out for those photos, you realize. I hope that you're going to be sharing your journey of paintings.
No.
No,
I can be an F student in private, not in public.
Okay, fair. I'm sure you're going to share them eventually, because I'm sure they're going to get amazing eventually. How has this impacted you since you realized it? How did this impact you, your overall well-being?
I wish I could say I was like a brave soul and right away I like changed my entire life and found 17. I feel like the opposite. I feel like it's been like 2 years of wrestling with feeling like, it's been 9 years of wrestling with no identity, but the past 2 years have been the struggle of I should be out of the woods by now. My kid is not in diapers. He doesn't depend on me in the same way. He is more independent. He's got friend circles and he's got things that he's interested in and he'll be independent. And so I started to feel guilty around the moment where he started to be able to pick out his own clothes and dye his own shoes and make his own food and turn on the TV and go downstairs on a Saturday morning. And I just kept feeling like I should have my shit together by now. Yeah. It's been 7 years, and now it's been the last 2 years of ruminating on this and mostly just beating myself up because I can't make a decision. I felt like I still feel like I have to choose the right thing. Yeah. What if I choose the wrong thing? What if I spend a whole bunch of money on carpentry classes and I hate it, or I suck at it, or it's dominated by mansplaining dudes and I hate the environment? Or
dudes love it. No, you're absolutely right. Humans. Amen. And listen, that's part of the journey, right? You're right. You could run into a lot of those. But I guess my other question is, who told you had to be out of this?
Just my mean brain.
Ouch.
Yeah. My mean brain can be really mean. And
you need to kick her to the curb. Drop her off at a dump. Say goodbye.
I know. I think my therapist told me that the opposite. She was like, you just need to embrace her. She's just like a hurt child who's just telling you the things that she heard.
She's so nice.
I know.
I'm like, you need to kick her out of the car, leave her there.
That's how I felt. I felt like I needed to get rid of these thoughts and they were bad and I needed to get rid of them. And she was like, that's just who you are. So how do you embrace that? How do you go, thank you for that information. I'm not going to follow your advice. You're coming from a different place than I am. You're coming from like a wounded place or childhood trauma place. All this stuff that you've accumulated in your life is you. But you don't have to follow her advice anymore.
No.
You could say, thank you for trying to keep me safe. I'm okay.
Right.
That's what I'm like slowly working towards. You know what helps, man? What helps is like something I want to talk about more, even in content and stuff, and just like share openly with other moms, that I'm learning so much through parenting my own kid.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much by being like, I want to do things that my parents never did for me and things that they couldn't give me based on their own history and their own trauma. And I want to be the cycle breaker, and I want to change the way that this looks. And so something will happen with him. He'll make a mistake. He'll mess up, because every human does. And I have so much compassion for him in those moments. And I have so much empathy for him. And I discuss his feelings and we talk it through. And I remind him that I am a safe space for him and that he's allowed to mess up. And then I have to walk upstairs and tell myself the same thing. And say, Jen, you're a safe space for you. You can mess up. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to blow $400 on carpentry classes and hate every single second of it. It's okay to do that. But I don't think I'd ever be able to get to that level of compassion or empathy for myself if I wasn't constantly actively working on it with my child, so that he has empathy and compassion for himself as he gets to be 41 years old.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm almost like modeling it for myself, because I never had it modeled for me. I now want to model it for my child. And then I have to go upstairs and talk to my own little inner child and say, you deserve that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting. I'm so glad you're finding so much more compassion for yourself. I don't know what happened, but this is a very different, not very different, I should say that. You're still the amazing woman that I met at the retreat, but this is a very different mom that's sitting in front of me than the one that was sitting in front of me at the retreat. This is exciting for you.
It ebbs and flows, baby. It ebbs and flows.
Also, motherhood, like a business, is literally, there are ebbs and flows. There's just going to be some really amazing days. And then there are going to be other days where you're just like, you know what? Today's just not the day that I want to adult and be alive. I want to crawl into bed and not be a human today. So I get it.
100%.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally get it.
It's some days you just can't, and that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. Are you adding in more self-care now that you're recognizing where you need it?
No. I'm still trying to figure that piece out. I feel like it's so funny. You're like, you're so changed. And I'm like, I don't feel changed at all. I take a long time to process things. It just takes me a little longer. It's so funny. In business, I make really fast decisions. I'm
Ooh.
very fast and very quick, and I don't like ruminating on things. I want to go. In my personal life, I'm the opposite. I'm like, okay, you've had this thought. What do you think about that thought? How do you feel about that thought? What are you going to do about that thought? Let's think of 20 different things. Let's pass those
Let's
by your
switch because
husband.
I want the business vibe that you have going on.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it takes me forever to make a decision within my business. So much so that I have a podcast episode dropping tomorrow. Obviously this will be dropped after this podcast episode is dropped, but in regard to like my decision paralysis, because I will sit on it for days. And then it was, I think at the retreat, Jenna Warner said to me, once Min figures out what she wants to do and decides that this is what she wants, her business will change exponentially. And those words literally resonate in my mind almost every single day now, because I'm like, you don't get to not make a decision today. You have to make a decision. Even if it's the wrong one, make a decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
The fear around making the wrong decision is just so huge.
But I don't care about it in my personal life. I'll do it all day long. The wrong meal, the wrong outfit.
God, I love it. We do need this. I'll call you whenever I'm like, what do I do with my life? And you call me whenever you're like, what do I do with my business?
That's fine. Totally fine. I'll do it.
You and I together.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I'm like, what socks should I wear today? Here are 17 arguments on either side about what socks. Should I wear the wool socks? Here's why. Should I wear my Lululemon sweat socks? Here's why. I'm the worst.
So did you start implementing that into your business? Did you start implementing your business decisions into your personal life? I'm just going to make a decision today and that's going to be, no? You still have decision paralysis and
huge. I feel like my business decisions only impact me. It's not true as much anymore now that I'm the breadwinner, but I feel like the decisions I make with my business are like my own problem. And I feel like the life decisions that I make impact other people.
And you don't want it to impact your child and you don't want it to impact your husband if you make that decision. I got it. I see. But how much of those decisions, like what decisions are we really talking about? Like the color of your socks is going to impact. I really hope that.
If I wear the sweat socks, then I can play soccer with my son. But if I wear the wool socks, then I'm wearing my Blundstones, and those aren't really good for soccer practice, which is like I am an over analyzer in my real life.
Oh, I see.
I know. In my business life, I'm like, let's go.
So then why can't you have two pairs of socks, one in your purse in case you need to switch it out?
You know what? That is this is why I'm going to call you next time. I'm like, man, what socks do I wear? What does self-care look like? Should I go to yoga or should I go to CrossFit?
Well, and this is my other question. This was my other question, right? Because when we were at the retreat, I said to you, I was like, you need to incorporate a little more self-care because I feel like and this is not just for my moms out there, but for women in general, you can't keep putting yourself on the back burner.
Yeah.
And I think that we tend to do that way too often. So I'm really hoping that you've implemented just a little.
Nope.
Just a little. No. You're like, no, that's not happening.
I want to take your advice. I just haven't.
I know. I'm hoping that in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. And again, it really is decision making. What does that look like? How much time and effort? When would that happen?
Oh, you know what? Wow. Oh, baby girl, we're going to stop for a second. You are way overthinking this.
Yeah, I know.
And this isn't to say that self-care can't be big, extravagant things where you go to a spa and you like get a 2-hour massage and then you soak in some tubs for a little while. Those are great self-care things. But one of the things I incorporate in my day in regards to self-care is like I get up in the morning And while I'm waiting for my coffee to brew, I will stand there and listen to an affirmations podcast. And it's literally the best form of self-care I've had all day long. And I literally will stand at my Nespresso machine watching the coffee drip out of my Nespresso machine.
That's good.
And that's literally it just happens to be my form of self-care because I love watching the coffee brew. I also love the affirmations podcast that I listen to. But honey, you're overthinking this. This needs to be a lot more simplified. It's the small acts I want you to put into place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are the pieces that I have to put back together.
Mm-hmm. What did you do in your 20s for self-care before baby?
Jumped out of airplanes and
every day?
No.
Just
no, I don't know. My life has changed a lot, even just like moving out of Toronto. Like when I lived in Toronto, you could walk anywhere.
Yeah.
Everything's just a little bit harder. Not living in a city where you can just walk to your favorite coffee shop or walk to a park down the street or just little things like that. So everything takes that just tiny little bit more effort. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I am lying to your face. I also just did 2 weeks away.
Yes.
I took a 2-week vacation. I have done, that was like ultimate self-care because I, for the very first time ever, told all of my clients, don't message me, don't email me, don't Fox me. I am not here. I will not answer you under any circumstances. And that was a big step. And all I did all day long was read and swim. And that's putting my body in water is my number one self-care.
Love that.
Yeah. That's another one that I really want to learn to incorporate into my life somehow on a regular basis because I just immediate central nervous system calm if I can put my body in water. That's a good.
Was it scary taking the 2 weeks off from your vacation?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that my business still isn't going to like crash and burn now.
You're back from it and nothing happened.
Nothing has changed. No, everything's the same. So it's totally just my mean girl brain, my anxiety speaking to me and being like, you messed it all up. That thing that you've been building really hard. But obviously, I'm super lucky. All of my clients are just the most wonderful humans. I won't work with you if you're not. I just say, hey, we're not a good fit. And I leave that money on the table because kindness is more important to me. And that was really driven home to me when 3 months ago, I said to all my clients, hey, in October, I'm taking 2 weeks away. And then I reminded them every 2 weeks that I was going away. If they wanted stuff done for October, they had to get it into me early and I would hustle my butt off and get it for them. If they didn't want that, then I wouldn't charge them. They set that boundary really early and not a single one was like, but what am I going to do? But how are we going to? But what if none of them? Every single one was like, I'm so happy for you.
Yay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that's how you know you're doing something right. You know?
Yeah. And wasn't it nice to just spend time with the boys?
It was the best. It was the best. We just, every time we go somewhere, we think we need to change our life even more drastically than we already have. It's like a slow build, but we would love to move overseas. Move to somewhere.
Where to?
Mexico is on our list for sure, but we've looked at, I speak French, my son speaks French, so southern France, anywhere that's warm and has water. Because I see it in my son too. He like immediately relaxes when he puts his body in water. We're very similar in that way. And just like the fresh air, my husband doesn't have to take his like asthma puffers when we go somewhere else. We live in southern Ontario where the air quality is just rough and it's humid and it's so we're like, as a big dream, we wouldn't stay in southern Ontario forever.
Right. Oh, that makes sense. Oh. So going back to your business for a second, how guilty do you feel sometimes not spending that time with your son and taking care of your business?
All the time.
Ooh.
It never ends. It's really difficult. And there's been a couple times where he's been like, hey, Mom, you're on your computer.
Oh.
And that hits home. Finding a balance between explaining to him that me on my computer is me providing for our family and me being able to afford a 2-week vacation in Cancun and being able to pay for soccer lessons and swim lessons. He's young, so I don't want to like harp on it, but I do want him to understand that I'm not just like scrolling, I'm not just ignoring him.
Yeah.
The flip side of the coin is that when his choir has a trip or his soccer team has a game, I can always be there. I will never, ever prioritize work over that. It means that I'll work from 8 p.m. to midnight instead.
Right.
And that's a sacrifice that's 1000% worth it for me.
Right.
So it's back and forth. I have this guilt that every time he's in the house and I'm working that I should be with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that I sacrifice my own evening time to be with him in the big moments. And I hope that as he gets older, he'll see that I was always there for those things.
Yeah.
And you know what? We were talking about how I used to be the default parent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been a big shift for our son to go from me being the default parent to my husband being the default parent. It's been a really interesting shift in our family dynamic because I'd say probably 6 months ago even. And it's not that long ago.
Relatively recent.
Yeah. And like my husband went to pick him up and dropped him off today. My husband's probably going to take him to soccer because I can't, just like a practice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big dynamic shift for us because it was always me. My husband was working in Toronto and commuting, and so he was gone 10 hours a day. He'd have his 8-hour shift plus an hour-ish, if not more, commute on either side. And so it was just me and my son often.
Wow.
Yeah. And now I'm the one who has to be like, you know what, you're going to take him to soccer practice because I am going to get this writing done so that when you guys get home, we can all have supper together and I'm not on my computer during supper.
Mm-hmm.
These are the balances we have to make. But I think it's been an interesting shift for our kid. And as a raging feminist, I'm really happy that my son has his entire life really had my husband as a caregiver in his life. Despite being the default parent, my husband really is present and available when he is home at all points in time.
Absolutely.
And now it's just amplified now that he's become the default parent.
And also, how great is that going to be? Like, you're probably raising a little man who's going to understand the mental load for his future relationships that his potential partner would be having. Yeah. And maybe won't have to be told certain things that sometimes we have to tell the men in our lives about.
Yeah.
We'll just get it. Oh, I know that's probably something I can take off your plate and just do it instead of being told to do it or asking 10,000 questions for a task to be done.
Yeah. And he gets to witness a man in a real like caregiver role.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Amazing. So what are some future goals and dreams that you have for yourself as an individual separate from motherhood and your business?
Oh, genuinely to find my passion, honestly, outside of these things. I think it seems like such a simple goal, but it really is true. I want to find something that I'm not going to monetize. That's my biggest problem. I think that so many women, I'm on the Gen X.
You're totally reaching to the choir right now. Because legitimately, I think of everything. I'm like, oh, I wonder how I can monetize that. I never like, I need to do this for the fun of it and not for the fun.
Yes, it's immediately like, how can I make money from this?
Mm-hmm.
If I were to sell my carpentry, maybe I could build things that I could then sell. No, that is the voice in my brain I want to shut off. And that is a big future goal of mine, is to just be passionate about something that I don't have to monetize.
Yeah. Ooh, that's exciting. Yeah.
So that's a big one. And then another big one is I used to play sports and I really miss competing or working towards something that has a big goal like that. So one of the things I've been continuously telling myself is to start doing triathlons.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll ever happen.
For me, it's the idea of getting to the gym every day.
Yeah.
I was doing it for a little, but I didn't do it every day. Let's be real. I'm so cute.
Every day is intense.
Yeah, every day is intense. But I was doing it 3 times a week. And then I don't even remember what happened. And then one day I was like, oh, I can't make it today. And so that day became 3 months of that. We're not
Yeah, that it
once.
crumbles, right? I know. It's so funny. You're like, I messed it up once, so obviously I'll never do it again.
Yeah. And then every Monday morning I wake up and I'm like, today's the day I'm going to the gym. Right after my coffee. Oh, there's an email. Oh.
I know. I see you. I see you 100%.
I think I'm going to be cheering you on for the triathlon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's ambitious. That's my only like hesitation around it, but I think it would be really fun to have a plan and work towards a goal of just completion and being, again, I really like to see the fruits of my labor.
Fair.
Like I don't love being a hobbyist who's just like practicing. Like I really like to be like, I'm going to build this whole like system behind our bed and then it's going to be done and I'm going to be like, look at the thing that I made. And so I'm like, I love the idea of going to the gym and I really enjoy the gym, but I want to work towards something so I could be like, I'm gonna do a triathlon, I'm gonna finish the triathlon, and then I get to be like, look, I did the thing. It's probably because I like accolades, so I want other people to be like, you did the thing. Right?
Isn't it funny how you're not seeing that in the same way for your business? Like for me, everybody's like, how are you not equating? Why do you need like a big accomplishment? Like I'm the same way. I'm like, every year I tell myself, this is the year I'm going to do the 5K run. I've never done a 5K run. It's not even that far.
I love it.
And I tell myself, I'm going to train this year. I'm going to do a 5K. And then next year, I'm going to do 10K. I've never once done this. I just tell myself I'm going to do it. And every year I tell my girlfriends this. And they're like, you basically set all these like big goals, but you never see like the little ones that you accomplish like within your business or your life. And then I'm like, yeah, I know. Because it's not the same. I didn't run 5K.
It's true.
Right?
No, it's true. Yes. We undervalue the little steps, the baby steps that we take.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All those baby steps amount to a 5K.
It does.
Right?
It does, yeah. Yeah. And you're going to
take all these baby steps and you like, look, you turn around and you're like, holy shit, I've gone 5K. But like along the way.
And this goes back to something else that I tell a lot of women is that you don't recognize how far you've really come because the idea of looking back feels sometimes a little trivial. Who cares about the stuff I've already accomplished? I'm looking for the stuff that I need to accomplish.
Yes. So my best example, my husband had to like really shake me because I made a huge income in June. It was like as much as I had made in a year when I was like younger. Wow. I was so proud of myself. And literally the next day, I was on to the next goal. It was like July 1st. I was like, okay, what next? And he was like, what do you mean, what next? Like, you just achieved something so huge and so powerful, and you're not letting yourself. I'm like, I did enjoy it. I'm done. That's done now. And he's, you could enjoy it for the rest of the year. Like, you could be like, I had this month this year in 2023. I had the biggest income month that I've ever had. But I don't. I just move on to the next thing. I don't soak it in. I don't revel in it. I'm constantly like, what's the next thing and the next thing and the next thing?
Yeah.
I don't know how to, like you're saying, I don't know how to enjoy these things. Even when it's a big thing that happened, I was still like, okay, what next?
Did he force you to celebrate your win?
He did.
Oh, good. Good.
He got me flowers. He got me champagne. He's my
And then did you celebrate though?
Champion.
So no.
Probably not.
So no.
Probably not. I'm really proud of myself. I spent a lot of time talking myself out of that. I felt guilty for making that much money because I knew a lot of people who hadn't. Yeah. I felt like it didn't really count because I had this really big project that came through and I just decided to keep all my other projects. And so I did them all. And I was like, it's never going to happen again because that big project came along. Like mean girl voice in my head. I talked myself out of why this was a big accomplishment over and over and over and over again.
Oh, wow.
And so even talking to you about it now is like a win for me because I would normally just be like, oh, yeah, I did that thing, but it didn't really count. Oh. And so I'm trying to even just talk about it to be like, no, that was real and that was genuine and that was hard. And I did it. I did the thing. And I shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
feel guilty. And I
No.
shouldn't feel like it doesn't count. And I shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
feel like if that never happens again, that doesn't devalue that it happened.
Yeah.
It was actually Courtney Shaw who told me, because she celebrated me big time on it. And she was like, it's probably not going to happen again next month. And I remember it was like almost like a slap, and not in a mean way. Like, it was just like, oh yeah, I can't be working this hard and striving this deeply on a continuous basis. I'll end up in the hospital, is basically what she was saying. She was like, I'm really proud of you and I've seen how hard you've worked, but also remember that this may not be repeatable, and that's okay.
Yeah.
This may not happen again, and that's okay. And so I'm like, that is my win, is being okay with that and being like, that counts, that happened, it was wonderful, I'm proud of myself.
I think you need to celebrate it a little bit more.
What does
And
that
tell
look
people
like,
whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah.
I don't think there's no playbook on how to survive life. There's no playbook on how to be a mom. There's no playbook on how you celebrate your wins. Like those playbooks don't exist, because I remember the first time that I hit 10K in my business, and I did the same thing as you. I was like, it is what it is.
That didn't count.
That didn't count. It was a fluke. That won't happen again. And I literally woke up the next morning as if it was nothing and went back to doing exactly what I should be doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's the hard part too, because life does go on.
Mm-hmm.
I did wake up the next day and I still had to write other people's emails and other people's sales pages. It's not like I was like, no, I'm done work. I won.
No, you're right. Because there's always, but the idea here is that we accomplished the goal. And then now we're in the exact same breath that we accomplished said goal, we moved the goalpost.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we're too focused on that next goalpost too, right? You're like, cross that 5K finish line and breathe for a minute instead of being like, let's go for 10K, like the moment you finish. Yeah. It's hard to breathe in that moment.
So you're going to be celebrating more big wins in the future?
Yeah.
Or allowing yourself is the better question, to celebrate more big wins?
Yeah. I want that. I want women have so much guilt around money, full stop.
So much.
But I know we talked about this a bit on the retreat, but like coming from a different socioeconomic standing than where you are now, there's a lot of guilt and trauma that comes with that when you grow up poor. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff to unpack when you start to make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so the guilt that comes with the joy is just something I hadn't realized would happen.
Yeah.
I talk a big game about wanting to change my socioeconomic standing from when I was born. And I have, but there's a lot to unpack that comes with it. And that holds me back in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. And I watch my son not want for anything, never go hungry, never have to wear clothes that are too small for him. Mm-hmm. And those are huge wins, but also it's just such an interesting mind mess.
Yep.
So it's a lot to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this is such a beautiful conversation. I'm so glad you joined me today. I really hope that the listeners out there got a lot more out of this than just finding your identity after motherhood, because that's initially what this podcast episode was supposed to be about. So funny. But I think you gave a lot of valuable nuggets there, and I really hope that when this episode airs, I can give the audience an update as to where your life is at right now. That you fell in love with carpentry, that you learned a new skill that didn't get monetized. You ran your triathlon. You showed us a picture that you painted.
Oh my God, no. No, I know. I love
You don't have to do
my
that.
hard no. That's why, Everything else is
Sure.
that you're like, show us a painting? No, absolutely not.
That's what happened. Don't ask me about that. That's so funny. And if anybody wants to connect with Jenn and potentially use her services, where can we find you?
You can find me at Jenn Green Marketing or at Jenn Green Marketing on Instagram. That's probably the easiest way right now. My website is just thejengreen.com. Jenn with 2 N's. And yeah, that's really it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jenn, for joining us. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye. I want to express my deepest gratitude to the incredible Jenn Green for joining me here on Share a Latte. Jenn, you truly brought a unique blend of inspiration to our virtual coffee table. To my favorite coffee-loving besties, I hope this episode has filled your cup with warmth, laughter, and a renewed appreciation for the diverse brew of life. Until next time, keep sipping, keep savoring, and most importantly, keep sharing those beautiful lattes. I hope that this episode inspired you and you take bigger steps in creating that beautiful life that you've always wanted. If today's episode warmed your heart, please hit that subscribe button and stay with us for future journeys. If you enjoyed the chat today, your thoughts and feedback mean the world to me, and they'll help others discover the magic of Share a Latte. Each story enriches our journey. Remember, you can turn trials into triumphs and scars into stars. Keep believing and keep chasing those beautiful dreams. This is Min taking her last sip from the Share a Latte podcast, where life happens and coffee helps.